Hi, welcome to That Reminds Me Of, a podcast about film and the films that remind us of that film. You're here with Baron and the Doc.
And the Maestro.
Do we need another drink?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Baron, my filmic friend.
Doc, how are you?
I'm not bad.
Awesome.
We've been spending a lot of time with each other lately.
So much time. So many films, so many episodes.
Well, here we are back at our home away from home at the Capitol Theatre. My drink is charged.
Yeah, it is.
It's laced.
Nice. This episode is sponsored by Red Bull and some kind of vodka.
It's a mix, actually.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's a mix of vodka.
Oh.
I put Smirnoff and Finlandia in the same hip flask.
That's how they recommend you take both of those.
Yeah, I'm a purist. What are we doing today?
Well, we've seen a film called Perfect Days by Wim Wenders. Wim Wenders.
Correct.
Not Wim Wenders.
Well, it might be Wim Wenders.
Could be
for all
Wim
I
Wenders.
know.
I don't know either.
I've always said Vim.
That sounds more legit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it either sounds legit or wrong. But I think it's Vim.
Okay, great.
Let's run with Vim.
So this is a film written by Wim and Takuma Takasaki,
Yes. Japanese
writer, directed by Wim, and starring Koji Yakusho. God, we're gonna who plays Hiroyama.
Yep.
As the main character. This film came from Cannes, or via Cannes, to MIFF. I think we should talk about the synopsis and all that sort of stuff, but then get into what we thought of it.
Well, I know you did all the heavy lifting there with the names and all that sort of stuff, but
I
because you're on a roll, I wouldn't mind just you continuing this with the synopsis if that's okay.
Sounds good to me. I went to IMDb,
Yes.
typed in Perfect Days, and got probably one of the shortest IMDb synopses that we've seen, and also one of the weirdest and most funny, I think. It's not laugh out loud funny. It's just like, oh, who would write a synopsis like that? But, that's what IMDb is known for, just sort of random synopses at times, right? So the synopsis is, a janitor in Japan drives between jobs listening to rock music.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is
How good, right?
Beautiful.
Just minimalist,
Yeah.
like the film.
Like it's exactly reflective of the film, except it's not 2 hours long.
Right.
But it's got the essence and the vibe.
The thing that's not said in this synopsis, but you can glean from it, is that not much else happens in this film.
Yeah, there's an absence of plot, isn't there?
There really is. Well, what did you think of it?
I absolutely loved it.
Me too. Me too.
I thought it was
great.
Perfect Days.
The whole way through, my mind was being blown. Here's a guy who's being told you should make films a certain way.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the Hollywood model. And this is a film that is the opposite of the Hollywood model because, I don't know, maybe there's an inciting incident 15 minutes in. Maybe there's a turning point 30 minutes in. Maybe. But I didn't spot it. You know what I mean? I didn't spot a particular midpoint or a low point or any of that stuff. Like it just cruises. It does its own thing.
Yeah, and it gets you early, don't you think?
Yeah.
With that minutiae of detail and habit and that sort of thing. And then you get into his car for the first time and the rock music comes on. The nostalgia. I just bloody loved that.
You did? The music aspect of it
the music,
in particular?
Well, the music was they were great choices for the soundtrack.
Oh, it's a banging soundtrack.
But in juxtaposition, to use a sort of, wanky word, with just his mundane real life, it just brought those little moments of beauty in the songs to life. And that reminded me of just moments in my own life and probably everyone's life. When you've had a hard day, you're doing all the boring stuff, and then maybe you get, just 20 minutes where you've got to get in the car and you're stuck at the traffic lights and a song comes on that you love and it completely transforms your day and it becomes like a spiritual moment. And this film was full of those little spiritual moments.
Absolutely. The thing that I came away thinking about this film in these sorts of terms was it's a film where nothing really happens and yet there's a lot happening. It's a film where there's almost no plot and yet you can read between every little moment just masses of subtext.
Yeah, like Seinfeld.
Yeah, yes, although there's a lot more happening in Seinfeld. That was their pitch, but this is what the actual...
Yes.
It's a film about nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's a film about nothing, but it's not that nothing happens. No, it's a film where nothing happens, but it's not about nothing. It's the other way around.
It's about life, because that's how life goes.
Exactly.
You can go through several days or weeks or years not really doing anything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean your life is empty.
I think we've set up that this is a film where not much happens. However, I think we've got to give the audience a little bit more than that. Maybe, explain a bit more than a janitor drives around listening to rock music. What do you reckon?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to try and find it tough, but do you want to have a crack, or are you passing this over to me because I haven't done enough
I'm
this
passing
episode?
it to you. Yeah. I have some ideas, but I want to hear your thoughts on it first.
Well, I guess nothing happens for a little while. There's a lot of scene setting of what this guy's life looks like. He's a janitor, so you go with him on his janitor run. And then gradually you do get introduced to some secondary characters who flesh him out. Firstly, there's his mate who is late for the shift and isn't a good worker, so he's always sort of covering for him. Then his mate brings this young girl in who he's trying to impress, and there's a little bit of sort of, not friction, but excitement perhaps between our lead character and the young girl. Then his niece comes to arrive, so all of a sudden you start to get an insight into his back catalogue of his life.
Yeah.
And then that brings his sister into it. You realise that there's more to his life than you had otherwise thought. Still not much is revealed, so it's all left sort of hanging and for you to work out.
Yeah. See, I loved that moment. When the sister arrives, there's so much that isn't said, but the fact that she's so well presented, has a driver and a very expensive car that she's getting around in, and she's like, is it true that you're cleaning toilets?
Yeah.
Just says so much. You build into that little moment a whole backstory for this character, and everything you've seen has a new meaning. Yeah. He's chosen to live this life that he's living. He's chosen to clean toilets. He's obviously from a wealthy family. I don't know. All of that for me was just a revelation. And I think what I noticed was that when you show so little, or you have so little plot, the audience will fill in the gaps for you. They'll make anything small you give them into something huge because there's nothing else. In the absence of anything else, it all becomes meaningful.
You've just reminded me of a reference that I hadn't intended to say, but that's the rooster that we've just seen as well, where you've got the character played by Phoenix Ray who doesn't give much. He just goes along. We follow him on his day-to-day in a way. And it's the other characters, one in particular, that sort of create the meaning, impose the meaning almost onto him. So, or at least a vehicle for us understanding him a bit better. And that happens here because he's not giving much himself, but all of these characters, we start to gradually piece together what he's all about.
Hadn't thought of that either, really, but that's a great call. So, Wim Wenders is sort of apparently hailed as the godfather of slow cinema. Is that something you knew about?
Yes, vaguely. I haven't watched all of Wim Wenders, but I've seen enough to know his style. And, when you said he goes, anti-Hollywood, I think that's a thing. I don't think he's known to be of the Hollywood mould.
I've somehow missed all of his films. This is the first one that I've seen, and I'm truly impressed by it. One other thing that I took away from this film is that our lives are too busy.
Yes.
And there's just a simple joy in having very little in your life and just focusing on those few things and doing them very well, which I think is actually a bit of a Japanese philosophy in general. But it's highlighted in this film so beautifully. And the repetition of every day, it's the same thing, and it's the same say it's 5 things, but he's just going to do those 5 things well. And that's it.
Yeah, that was a lesson, and I took that lesson early. That said, as you progress along the film, those routines and that sort of thing start to have different meaning, and you start to think that, well, maybe, this is an escape from something and this is not, he's joyful on the outside, but there's some pain underneath that the routine masks.
That's right. And I came away with a strong feeling that he is a man who had a very complicated, busy, painful past, and he's made this conscious choice.
Yep.
The other thing I took away from it is that when you do make a conscious choice like this, there will be a host of women that will come and try and ruin it, and that you will have to push them away to continue your perfect, quiet, tranquil lifestyle.
So women are the problem.
That's the only thing I could deduce from what was presented to us.
No.
I mean, there were a couple men in there too, but mostly it was women.
Yeah, I suspect there's a lot of women troubles even under the surface that we're not even presented with.
True.
As well. But who knows? It may seem like women are the problem, but this guy could be, we don't know much about him.
No.
He could be a real wanker.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, he probably is.
He probably is. Well, most of us are.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. The women are probably better off without him.
I'd say so. Let's stick with that. We'll get more views.
Yeah,
less
absolutely.
complaints.
So should we move on to what we were reminded of while watching this film?
Absolutely.
All right, what do you got, Doc?
Well, we were talking about Wim Wenders, so I'll just continue with the slow cinema vibe. And the one I was reminded of Wim Wenders' catalogue is Paris, Texas. Now, I don't think you've seen, well, you haven't, because you're not a Wim guy.
Vim guy.
I'm going to be vague, A, because I don't want to spoil it, and B, because I don't remember it very clearly.
Good.
But it stars Harry Dean Stanton. It's a classic. It's brilliant. And he appears as a mute, early in the thing. It's very slow moving. We just see, the minutiae of his movements through the day. But the thing that really got me was he goes into a peep show or a strip club or something like that, where he's looking at a woman, through the glass. I won't give too much of what that relationship means, but he starts talking and he's revealing stuff to her. Now, in the background of Perfect Days, we sense that there is a little hidey hole that this guy is perhaps visiting that we're not.
That's true.
We're not privy to. So he goes somewhere. He's perhaps meeting with a woman or something of that like, and you sense that maybe there's another life. And so I just think they're meant to be companion pieces. They're meant to be talking to each other, maybe showing different angles of a similar journey.
It's great. I haven't seen the film, so it's hard for me to really connect in with that, but it sounds great.
Well, good. That's exactly the audience I think that I want, because it was probably ridiculous, but you were impressed by it, so that's excellent.
Awesome.
How about you?
Well, you know what? I actually forgot to write it down, but it was in my head while I was watching it, so I'm going to mention it. Groundhog Day.
Yes, that's great.
Right?
Yeah.
Groundhog Day, if it weren't funny and nothing happened and the guy wasn't trying to escape. He was happy being stuck in the same wood.
Yeah, he is.
You know what I mean?
I think that's a ripper. And there's the melancholy in Groundhog Day as well, just different, realised a bit differently, but
absolutely.
Yeah, both good yarns.
I'm going to jump straight into my next one because it's just occurred to me there's an awesome connection here.
Go.
Bill Murray.
Ah, yes.
Groundhog Day. The other reminds me of I
know what you're going to say, but say it.
Lost in Translation.
Yep, I felt the same.
Yes, right? You can't watch a Japanese film, probably, if you're from a Western country, and not think of Lost in Translation. However, we've got Sofia Coppola shooting a film in Japan, an outsider going deep into this culture and presenting it to us in a really engaging way, in a way that made a lot of people probably want to travel to Japan. Well, here we've got Wim doing something kind of similar. So that one struck me. You know what else I'm just realizing?
You and you're
having connections.
You're
just firing
what are you on?
So I was doing a little bit of reading, and Francis Ford Coppola was one of the first sort of sponsors or mentors of Wim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was the one that's, apparently the film that he first, got up and running was before Paris, Texas, and it didn't go very well. But then Paris, Texas was his next film, and that sort of launched his career. And yeah, Francis Ford was there. And then his daughter went off and did a Japanese film. Vim did too. Bada bing, bada boom.
Oh, this is blowing my mind.
It's probably stupid. But
it's a conspiracy.
It's definitely a conspiracy. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to get off the Japanese and the Coppolas and all of that.
Yep.
This is an odd one. I'm not going to spend long on it, but I've started recently reading Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time.
Okay.
I'm not far enough in to give a dissertation on it, but it is an enormous piece of work. Like it's several volumes.
Yay. Sounds terrible.
Well, some people think it's terrible. Some people love it, some hate it, but it is slow.
Okay.
And it goes through, minute by minute, the inner thoughts of the main characters as far as what I'm up to. But just with the pacing, I think there's two types of stories that can be told. One is the fast-paced, plot-driven, going from here to there type thing.
Yep.
And the other is the slowing down and really investigating how the mind works and the more psychological kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I generally like the latter, and that's why I love Perfect Days.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I will never read that. Tell me what it's like.
I'll tell you in about 20 years when it's done.
Great. Awesome.
Any more from you? Any other Japanese invented things?
Mine's more of a filmmaker connection. So I'm just impressed by the ability of a filmmaker to move seamlessly from documentary to narrative, as Wim does and is known for. And so I was thinking about Werner Herzog, who's one of my other sort of faves that can do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm as knowledgeable about Werner as you are about Wim. So between us, I think we're winners, but alone we've got some gaps. Great. That's not really a reminds me of. It's more of a, oh, look, there's other people that do this too. Anyway. I think it's great. And I think his two styles inform each other. So there's a lot of documentary about Perfect Days, and I'm sure there's a lot of storytelling techniques in his docos.
Absolutely. What have you got? Was that it? Did you do two already? Have you got another one there?
I've got just a bonus, and this is a spoiler, so people can. There's nothing really to spoil, but
yeah,
I just want to mention the final scene. I think it's the final scene where it's a close up of his face. Is it the final scene?
I think you're right. When he's driving down the road.
When he's driving and he's joyful, he's smiling, and we stay on that for it felt like minutes. And the smile turns into an uncertain smile, turns into like maybe is he about to cry, but no, he's happy again. And then he is crying. No, he's very happy. Yeah. And there's the melancholy of that moment was probably my highlight. It's so nice to have a highlight at the very end.
Yeah.
So that was just poetry, and it reminded me of a scene that I'm sure I've mentioned before. And it's the final scene of Crimes and Misdemeanors by Woody Allen, which is my favourite of all time, where Woody has a similar moment where it just ends on his melancholy face. And, yeah, I love that stuff.
Beautiful. I love it. You know what it reminded me of?
What?
A little bit? It reminded me a little bit of Tom Cruise and Jerry Maguire singing Free Falling in his car. Do you remember that?
No, I don't. I can picture it like I remember it, but no, I don't.
It's almost the same framing, but loud and obnoxious, whereas this is quiet and subdued.
Yeah, or Wayne and Garth singing.
Yeah.
No, we're getting off track. Anyway, I thought it was near perfect. I'm glad we saw it. I'm looking forward to the next one. Any final thoughts?
No, other than saying it's one of the sort of surprises of the festival so far. Didn't think it was going to be something I would love, and I did. I loved it. And
it was about 2 hours, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember we had a couple of 2-hour ones back to back, and I was a bit nervous.
Yep.
Thinking, we're doing a lot of films here. Can I really do this? Should I bail? but we didn't, and well worth it.
All right, Doc. See you at the next one.
See you, Baron.